Morning all. I hope you had a fine weekend. Monday, 14th to the 7th, 2025, new week begins. After the scorching heat of the weekend, the pitch is slightly different today, but we'll get into that in a minute. Now let's see who's in. Hi Peter, hi Stephen, hi Mark, hi Scott, hi Last Braveheart, hi June, hi Barbara, hi John Baxter. Who else we got? Hi Jeanette. Regan Elite, you can't stay this morning. You have a nice day. Good morning, Carol. Morning, John. Morning, James. Morning, George. There we go. Morning, Alistair. Good morning, Linda. Good morning, Anne. Good morning, Alex. Good morning, Christina. Numbers are climbing nicely. Hi, Gary. Hi, Stephen. As I say, I hope you all had a good weekend. Mine was no bad. We back colour on the cheeks. Sarah and I, to be fair, we stayed out the sun most of the time. That much for us. And the heat yesterday during the day was so oppressive. Wasn't it as warm as Saturday, but geez, oh, it was oppressive. Anyway, that's enough he's on board to get this underway. So it's in the truck, Davey, out the truck, nap home, in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it is clearing up, but overcast at the moment. Dry, was raining earlier, and there is rain showers in the forecast. It's 17 degrees at the moment, and it's predicted to get to 19 today here in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire. The pollen count in Salisbury and North Lanarkshire is high, and the main allergen is grass. So that's the weather where Davy is. If you want to know what the weather's like where you are, look at your own bloody windy. Okay, let's get this thing underway, shall we? First up this morning, we have the Daily Fail. Now, what's the Daily Fail got for us today? Well, let's have a look, shall we? The Daily Fail has 4 killed in heat wave. Weekend marred by tragedy as thousands of Scots flocked to beaches and beauty spots on hottest day for 2 years. Now, this is a story that on Saturday there were 4 deaths related to outdoor activities which were undertaken due to the sun. We had a couple of drownings, a motorcycle accident, and somebody fell over at the campsite, Glen Falls. So, tragedy. Well, people are out trying to enjoy the sun. Terrible stuff. But I dare say that right across these islands and right across Europe at this point in time, there are people out enjoying the sun and taking risks when these things happen. Thank you very much, Peter. It's well appreciated. A wet Edinburgh this morning. Thank you. Okay. Second up, we've got the Looney Rag the Express. Let's get it up, if we can find it. Oh, marvellous. Here we go. And that is multiple incidents as people flock to Scottish beauty spots during hot spell. Tragedy amidst heat as 4 die at weekend. And as I said, these 4 people tragically lost their lives while undertaking leisure sports, leisure activities. As I say, it's no unusual. We hear of these things every year, especially drownings, where people enter bodies of water without understanding the bodies of water, get caught up in tidal rips and currents and things like that. So, as I say, this is an annual story. Hold on, Charlie Cat wants in the act. I can hear you, Charlie Cat. Say hello to everybody. Say hello to everyone, Charlie Cat. Right, so that's the Express. Now, both the Looney right-wing rags this morning are reporting on, as I say, tragic incidents while people have been out enjoying the weather. Sad but annual story, I'm afraid. Right, done with that. Next up we have the Herald. Now folks, this one's getting boring. We're back on youth crime after an incident at a bus station. We'll put it up. Bus station assault and threats skyrocket across Scotland. Called for Minister to act, basically. Now what this is telling us is that apparently youth crime is up in Scotland. But as we know, David and I covered the stats recently, and youth crime's down in Scotland. In fact, violent crime's down altogether in Scotland. But this is about youth violence. Okay, now we went into the stats before. We did the violence prevention units breakdown and how the figures have decreased over the years. But when I was looking at the figures, a lot of things that occur in these figures these days would never have happened when we were young, because justice was instantaneous and police were very seldom involved. Like, for instance, a punch up at school, a tooth knocked out, a black eye, a limb broken while in a fight at school would never have made it to the police. It would never have made it to the police. And it went as far as the headmaster's office. You and whoever else you were involved with would they get rattled with six of the belt on the non-broken hand. And that would have been an end to it. But anyway, I was looking at the stats right across the UK. So when you take in the fisticuffs and things like that, doing the stats, youth crime, youth violence in Scotland apparently is quite high at 16%. But as I say, that also takes into account threats of violence. In England, it is 25% of all youths come under threat or attack. And that's England and Wales, 25%. And in Northern Ireland, where you'd expect the figures to be highest because of the troubles there, it's actually 24.1%. But remember, no all of these are actual violence. Some of them are recorded threats of violence. But as I say, the numbers are high when taken in isolation, but when you take it across the big picture, the numbers are quite low. As I say, David and I did the stats. We put up the violence reduction units studies here in Scotland. We had a chat about this before. So the Herald's running on a bag of nonsense this morning. But to be fair, 16% is quite high. But as I say, a lot of this is reported crime which would never have been reported in the 60s, 70s, 80s and early 90s. Or when we caught with punishment in the 80s. Right. No, sorry, mid-80s. So that's the Herald. Let's take that down. We'll get shot of that. And we'll see what the Scotsman's vote for us. Because, as usual, one after the other. Right, what's the Scotsman go for us this morning? I'm finding it hard to get excited about this stuff this morning. There's a lot of nonsense. But that is the first day of the week. It'll get worse as it goes on. Thousands go private as NHS wait for IOPS hits 3-year high. 90,000 Scots on health service waiting list for cataract surgery. Now, folks, there's a couple of reasons behind why so many people go private for cataract surgery. It's where it started. It wasn't initially provided on the NHS. People were used to going to see their optician to get referred for cataract surgery, and it'd be referred to their own businesses, and it would be done by your optician service. But since it became part of NHS services, like everything else after the pandemic, there is a black backlog. But there are specialist centres in Fife and in Aberdeen and in Glasgow who are specialising in this stuff, and they're fair shuffling through them, folks. Fair shuffling through them. Okay, but 19,000 waiting. Really? We've got a population of 5.4 million. 5.4 million. Let's say 250,000 of them need cataract surgery at any one time. Or 100,000. Still no bad. Still no bad numbers at all. But this is how you spin pish. So see, cataract services started out in the private sector. And even about £3 grand an eye. Now the private sector are in competition, or the NHS is giving the private sector competition. You can get cataract surgery for between 300 and 600 quid an eye now. Wow. So why would you wait? You're only talking about a couple of weeks' wages. Right. The other thing about it is, folks, the people who are providing the cataract surgery in the private sector will also have NHS contracts. So if they were concentrating on NHS work only and nobody was going to the private sector, we would probably cope. Right. Let's take down that nonsense. See, these papers actually think we're stupid. We don't remember timelines. We don't remember how this stuff came about. Wow. Right, next up we'll get a national. Or is it a national? No, it's a rancid, and as you know, I don't put it up. It covers a crime story. Horror for victim's sister, fury as child killer goes free. Well, to be fair, he'd served 12 years in jail. And he was up for parole. So, the parole board obviously thought this man was fit to go back into society. Right, let's put up a national. What's the national vote for us today? Do we need to rely on the UK making move, or could Scotland lead on the rich paying more tax? Folks, have you ever seen so much nonsense in all your life? We don't need this nonsense for a national. We already tax the rich more. That's why we have 6 tax bands, 4 of which pay more than anywhere in the UK, while the first 2 pay less or equivalent to our UK. This is nonsense for us, rag. Absolute nonsense. The rich already contribute considerably more here in Scotland because we have 6 tax bands. This shit, we expect better than that from the national. Could they pay more again? Well, maybe that should be looked at. But to suggest we could be leading on it when we're already leading on it. Wow. Is this rag no paying attention to how the Scottish tax system works? We have 6 bands, 4 of which already pay more than our UK. Wow. Class action, you say yes, the establishment does. Well, obviously the fourth estate thinks we're fucking stupid. Oh, and you're right about voting habits, especially when it comes to UK elections. But this nonsense, we don't need this nonsense for the fucking national. It might have wanted to do a wee bit of fucking homework before it printed this nonsense. Wow. What absolute nonsense. As you can see, I'm pretty stunned, folks. The National should know that we already tax the rich more. And to be fair to the people who earn that wee bit more here in Scotland, they don't mind sharing the extra bit of burden that the narrower shoulders can't carry. In fact, we've got to be very proud of the people of Scotland because we don't mind sharing the load. That's why we have 6 tax bands instead of 3. We recognise that distributing the load more evenly as people become better off is the right thing to do. Wow. Expect better for the National. Unbloody believable. Right, what's after the National? Next up we'll get a Telegraph. Let's see what it's got for us this morning. Right, tax raise limits for middle class. Tax rooms for middle class. Is there anything left in the middle class to fucking squeeze? Is there? I mean, the class system has changed here. We went for working class, middle class, upper class. We now have an underclass. We have a lower middle class, we have a lower working class. We've got an upper working class. We now have a lower middle class, an upper middle class. We now have an upper class and an elite class. Now, the first three I mentioned, first four I mentioned, the underclass, the lower working class, the upper working class, and the lower middle class, they've got fuck all left to squeeze. Nothing. Tax-free looms for the middle classes. The middle classes have got fuck all left. How about tax-free looms for the elite, for the upper classes? Fuck's sake. But the reason why mere austerity is what we're getting is because of 30, 40, 50, 60 years of economic incompetence. And this chasing of something called neoliberalism. Fuck. Pardon my language, but you know I'm prone to a rant. And they wonder when you see the nonsense that's put in front of you every day. And that's supposed to pass as fucking news. Wow. How about we get some background to why we are where we are? Let people understand the timeline of idiocy. Mental. Right, the scum has. It's got a royal story this morning about the infighting between Will's Harry and the King. But you know what? When I seen that, I just went, fuck it. I'm not interested. Not interested. So you didn't even take note of it. So if you want to know what the scum has this morning, you'll have to look in the supermarket when you go shopping today. Because I just can't be arsed with it. You see, I'm thinking about dropping the record and the scum out the report altogether. Right, next up we have the Times. Bank could cut rate if job market slows down. I'm thinking, bank could cut rate if job market slows down. The Times nowhere in the figures. Unemployment's up 100,000 since the turn of the year. The economy's shrinking. And the bank could cut rates if job market slows down. The job market's fucking stagnant already. But more importantly, cutting figures would be counterproductive. Because inflation's on the rise. Cut the figures, the interest rate, you will fuel inflation. The economic data just hit the table last week. Tail end of last week. Rachel Reeves is in fucking tears again. As we have more contraction. We bounce. First quarter, second quarter. That bounce has now disappeared. And that was only 0.3%. This has been a stagnating economy since 2021. And it's got fuck all to do with COVID. Everywhere else has bounced back for COVID. We just have never made it back for COVID. You know why? We had a second handicap called Brexit. You don't want me to drop the Sun or the Daily Record. You need to know what the enemy is up to. No bother, class action. I'll take your advice on that one, alright? But what nonsense if job market slows down. The job market's already slowed down. In fact, the unemployment rate is growing and the rate of unemployment is accelerating. What a load of nonsense. What a load of nonsense. And to cut interest rates right now would be counterproductive because inflation is still quite high. No real. Wow. Tell you there's some fucking right economic illiterates running the economy and reporting on it apparently. Well, folks, just go to your search engine. Put in latest economic data for the UK. Read it and fucking weep. Wow. And they're still talking about growth. What fucking growth? There has been no growth since 2016's decision. It fucking totally died in 2021, in January when we did leave the EU. Fuck's sake. Such nonsense. We don't ever talk about them setting and trying to set the agenda rather than reporting the facts. Oh, they want to go on rants, folks. You know, this is the reason why we do this stuff. It's the reason why we have the Two Davies a current affairs chat show. So we can actually talk about these things. Because we have to. Because of the nonsense in the fucking press. Oofed. Right, next up we'll get the eye. What nonsense is that piece of junk vote for us this morning? Measles surge fear for summer holidays after child dies amid low jab take-up. Apparently some kid went on holiday to Italy and Spain, picked up measles somewhere along the way, and unfortunately the poor child died. The poor child died. Now they're worried that kids are going to bring it back here and it'll spread because of low measles, mump and rubella take-up. Folks, encourage your children to get your grandchildren and great-grandchildren vaccinated. And if you're at the age where you've got kids yourself, make sure they get vaccinated. Because that's a vaccine we actually know fucking works. Measles has been wiped out in this country. The odd one we get, and normally it's somebody who's outside the community that's been vaccinated. Right, so fears that kids going on foreign holidays are going to bring in measles. Wow. Guess people will not be going on foreign holidays anymore, eh? Right, next up this morning, with the Metro. And the Metro has nation's verdict on shattered Britain. Politicians, we don't trust any of you. And that's the latest polling on how the political leaders are viewed. Now, Starmer only beats Nigel Farage in one category, folks. One category. And that is that the people of England believe that Starmer is more honest than Farage. And when I was looking at that, I was going, this is a guy that lied his way to the leadership of the Labour Party. This is a guy that lied his way into number 10. This is a guy who's lying about his complicity in a genocide. More honest. I think we can put the two of them on a par. They're both fucking snake oil salesmen. One selling economic ruin and the other one selling genocide. Fuck's sake. And the one selling genocide, his Zionist cabinet are creating economic turmoil as well. Wow. Fucking wow. Alex, you're saying that, sorry, kids are not bringing measles back from just abroad. Birmingham and London have outbreaks for months. I am aware of that. I am. But in this particular case, this case come in from abroad. Okay. There is, although it's been more or less wiped out, we still get the odd outbreak. But you've got to ask yourself, where did it come from? When it's generally not on the head. That paper is identifying it as coming from overseas. Okay. Whether it's right or wrong, I can't tell you. I don't know about the article. I don't know what it said. Right. Only one paper left to look at. So we'll get it up. And to finish off today, as always, because I always keep it last, in the hope we get a boffin or something funny, it's this Star. Yet another heatwave. School jolly days. Fourth summer 2025 blast will give our kids more fun in the sun. Well, that's pretty good news, actually. Pretty good news. I have to say, round about here in midday, the kids are all off the streets because it's too warm. The parents don't want them out there. You know, but early morning and later in the afternoon, the lovely wee park outside my window is absolutely jam-packed full of kids and parents supervising them, which is a big change from when I was a kid, because you know you had parental supervising when I was a kid. But hey-ho, that's the way the world turns now. But it is always nice to see a very busy park on a beautiful day, because it is a beautiful wee park. Right, that's it for the day, folks. First one's over. And as usual, same as the last one of last week, the fucking nonsense is all over the place. I notice the big stories are no there. The really big ones involving Angela Rayner and the Labour Party's attempt to define Islamophobia without asking any Muslims. But we'll talk about that this afternoon, okay? Because there was bigger stories than the nonsense we've had in the papers today over the weekend. You guys look after yourselves. See you this afternoon. And then back again tomorrow morning. We've started. The rants have started and we're only on Monday. Yeah. But to me, the headline of the day was the nonsense in the National. Could Scotland be leading the way in taxing those with a wee bit more? We already are. National newspaper. Fuck. Didn't take much research to work that one out. Honestly, folks. See you this afternoon. Don't know what David and I will be talking about yet. But no doubt, two big stories will be there. Rayner and the Labour Party trying to define Islamophobia. Catch you later, folks.